Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming. Let's have some fun today. You've joined today to talk about how to find hyper focus with your clients. So that means you're likely a coach, maybe you're a therapist, but you're doing something in the world with clients that if you could find focus even faster, that might actually help the way that, or improve, elevate the way that you're serving people today. So that's why you're here. If you're in here for that reason, then you've come to the right place. And as always, I just really appreciate everyone that just decides to spend 60 minutes of your time with me. And I sorry what I hope is that we're going to have some fun. I'm going to be doing some teaching, and at the very end I'm also going to be sharing the center of the tool that I've created that helps us do this, and I'll be letting you know how you can learn more about that. So that's our playbook today, and welcome everybody. So here we go. I might be having a little bit of distractions as I let new people in, but if you can forgive that as we do it. Okay, first of all, I wanted to share a problem that you might have, and you might not know that you have it. And I did some writing this week on this, so it might be familiar to you. Are you ready to hear it? I think you can handle it. A problem that you might have, probably have, and might not know. And that is this, that your clients are likely lying to you. When I read the research on this, I was like aghast that the numbers, over 93% in a study reported lying or misleading, right? Some form of lying in their therapy sessions. This is specifically for therapists. 93%. So it's probably not like if your clients are lying, it's how many and to what degree. How many and to what degree. And the problem with that is when our clients are withholding or distracting or not telling us the full truth, the very thing that's likely in their way isn't something that we can see or help them with. And then that's going to impact our results. Another problem that you might be familiar with is you might have had the experience where a client comes in and they just download everything, right? They just like, da, 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 da. They just like, they come and they're not silent. They just unload. And then sometimes that can leave you feeling like, okay, where do we go from here? And then one that I'm all too familiar with is often you might be with a client and you can clearly see how you could potentially help them, or you can clearly see maybe it's at the end of an engagement that they came to you with X problem, but you can clearly see another thing that you're in a perfect position to help them with, but they can't see it. And what happens, right, when this happens is clients don't step into their work with us. We don't get to help them in the way that really we really want it. So my promise for today is to show you exactly. I'm gonna mute everybody, just 1 second. If you're in there, if you could mute yourselves, that would be really appreciated. I'm hearing a little bit of background noise. My promise today is I'm going to show you how to build trust with your clients within the first 15 minutes. How to build trust with your clients within the first 15 minutes. I'm going to show you exactly how to find focus by setting priority with your clients. I'm going to show you exactly how to create responsible actions with your clients within the first session. I'm going to do all three of those in this short amount of time. how to build trust, find focus, and create action. And in the end, I'm going to show you a tool that I've created that helps us do that consistently with your clients every time. And then we'll be done. Before I start, I want to introduce you to Ashley. Ashley is an amazing coach. She's actually a hypnotherapist, so shares that background with me. And Ashley primarily works with women who are overwhelmed and have kind of lost their way. They've lost their purpose. And what Ashley does, how she uses focus to leverage her business, is in the first meeting, she gives the client the promise that when they meet with her, she's going to help them find their focus. She does that by creating an exceptionally safe space. She opens up the details of her life and moves them towards a central focus. And then when she's done that session, if it's a fit, right? If it's a client that is a fit where she can help them, she offers her 6-month program. And for Ashley, helping clients find focus in a safe space in the very beginning is an essential part of how she invites people into her work. Next, I want to show you some items from my inbox, because when we get really, really good at doing this, when we get really good at helping people find focus, and again, I'm reiterating, in a safe way, you're going to get emails like this. This is an email that I got, you can see January 24th. This was after one session with a client. After one session. So this isn't like hours and hours of work. After one session using, I use my own tools. So using a tool that helped me understand, I'm going to call, understand Bev. She gave me this email on the very first day. There's another one. This one, it was after 2 sessions. First session, we found focus. Second session, we did some deep interpersonal work. And we'll call this client P. P went on to her group and just shared how transformational her experience was. And if you're interested in getting referrals, having your clients have transformational experiences is a key part of that. And when your clients are lying or withholding and it's taking you hours and hours to get there, your clients aren't going to share those experiences. Here's another one. Again, this is fairly recent, in the last couple months, where 2 sessions with this client, creating transformational results. Not long engagements, but opening the door for transformation and then coaching after. When you get good at this stuff, it really works. And if you got into this business like me to create transformational change in as quick of time as possible, then this finding focus thing really matters. Okay, so with that, I'm going to actually move into like more of a teacher mode, where I get to use my whiteboard and I get to see all you wonderful people. Awesome. Okay, so I want to remind you, before I do the big reveal, I do want to remind you that this isn't an art class. So even though I woke up this morning and I really worked hard on this picture, this is your opportunity to give me radical acceptance and compassion when you see my artwork. Are you ready for it? Here we go. Okay, so this is our client. Let's call him Bob. Bob's the name of my dad, and I love my dad, and that's going to work out quite well. So what I want to build is a ladder framework of how to get hyper focus with your clients. Step number 1 is trust. If you have a pen and paper, I'd recommend you get it now, because I went away from slides and I'm going to put some nuggets here. So number one is trust, and I'm going to the heart for this. So how do you currently build trust with your clients? And if you can't answer that question, like consciously, if in this current moment you're like, I'm not sure, I am absolutely recommending that you really, really turn that into a conscious, explicit process. I'm going to give you 4 nuggets on things to do within that process. And the first is, for C, is confidentiality. You might not be able to see that, but you can hear me. Confidentiality, the confidentiality between you and your clients, make it explicit. Have a written confidentiality policy. And when you explain it to them, explain why that's important that you hold their confidence. Why is it important to you? You're going to have your own style and your own language around why confidentiality is important to you, why it serves you in your business. That's got to be explicit for them to understand that they're in a safe place. So confidentiality. Next. All right, wait for it. Is partnership. In building trust, what I mean by partnership is a lot of the times coaches and therapists will come from a place of authority. And partnership is very different than authority. It feels different for the client. Authority is like, I'm waiting and I have the answer for you. I'm the coach and I'm waiting to give them the answer. Partnership is care and curiosity and saying, okay, I have some wisdom and I have some direction, but we're going to work together in partnership to help you find the answers that are most meaningful to you in your context, in your life, because every single client comes with a different set of context. So working in partnership. Next is radical compassion. Radical compassion. Again, we want to be explicit. Explicit that judgment doesn't belong here. The client coach, therapy coach process it's all about vulnerability. It's really hard for that client to be sitting with you. And they're going to have their own self-judgments and their own self-talk coming in. So when you explicitly name that, say, hey, during this process, you might feel some self-judgment come in. And that's okay, you're human. But I want to let you know that judgment isn't going to get us to the point of clarity and to the point of the most self-serving actions for you. So you will receive no judgment from me. And if you hear it from yourself, I'm going to recommend that you just let it pass through. And if it gets stuck anywhere along the way, feel free to name it. Feel free to let me know what's going on, and I'm going to help you through it. When you name the thing that you already know is likely going to get in their way, then you're building that trust bridge with your client. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to those 3. So build trust with your clients. That's number 1. Do it with a confidentiality policy that you stand behind and that you mean from your heart. And they can feel it when you talk to them about it. In total partnership with the client, not authority. Not I have the answers and here they are, but we're going to get there together. And finally, radical compassion. Judgment doesn't live here. And if it does come through, because you're human and that's a normal emotion, we can talk about it. That's okay. Okay, so that's number 1, trust. Next We want to find the pain. If you're in a corporate setting, or if you're a coach in wellness or something that isn't like as on the nose in terms of emotional well-being, maybe emotions and pain is scary. And I'm a proponent that if you're not moving towards the pain, it's going to be really hard for you to find the focus that's going to most help and transform your client. So how do you move towards the pain? And what I mean by that is, in people's lives, they're going to have aspects in their lives that they're not feeling fulfilled. Maybe something has happened. Maybe there's a context that happened. Maybe they're going through something. And a lot of the times, the pain is hidden. They know about it. Their body might know about it, but it's either been buried for so long that they don't know how to talk about it, or it's so heavy that they want to distract. They want to talk about the kind of the easier things. And if we let them do that, this kind of falls in the your clients are lying to you bit. If we let them take us down a trail where their pain doesn't exist, that's not where we can help them the most. So in moving towards our client's pain, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to ask. We're going to ask. When we have their life on the table in front of us, we can simply ask, where are you feeling the most pain in your life right now? When you think about the way you're living your life right now, is there anything that you're maybe not proud of or scared to share with me? To ask that maybe awkward or scary question with radical compassion, that they know that you know that they probably have got stuff, and they can feel that you're okay with it. They can feel that in the way that you show up for them. If we move towards the pain explicitly, with radical compassion, that's going to be that bridge to the client that this is a safe space, that they can tell you what's going on. So move towards the pain. Next on the ladder of finding radical focus is priority. There we go. That's it. Priority. So let's say, okay, let's say we've gotten them to a point where they know that this is a safe space. Next, we've moved towards where their pain is. Not necessarily dealt with it, but they know that we know that they've got some stuff in their life, and that it's totally okay. We've normalized it. And now we've moved to priority. And where priority can really, really help is particularly for that client scenario where they've buried stuff for so long, or they haven't kind of looked at it, that it's like it's all over and they can't sort through it. It's overwhelming. And they've come to you for guidance. They've come to you to help sort it out. So by simply putting it all on the table and asking, okay, what's most important to you here? Now that we're looking at it all, what's most important to you here? So priority is here, if you're wondering, if you haven't figured out in the picture. When I'm working with clients, for every session, I try to have like a one-to-one. Like if there was only one thing, we've talked about a whole bunch of really important things. If there was only one thing that you could work on today, what would it be? If there was only one change that you could make, what would it be and why? That forced ranking of priority has them self-assess of what's going to make the biggest change and transformation in their life. And if you're listening, you'll be able to challenge that if you've got another idea in partnership, not authority. You see how these kind of stack together. So in order to be able to help your clients choose priority, you got to get it all on the table. And if they come with just one thing, that's great. You might help them with one thing, but there is a chance that there's something else going on that they're ignoring. Next, this is an important one, crucially important. Where the rubber hits the road, it's action. So in the first 15 minutes, we've created a safe space of trust. They know that what they share with you is confidential. They know that because you've been explicit, you've got a written policy that they've seen, and they felt it from when you described it. We've moved towards their pain. We've gotten them to share an overview of their life. You can do that with a life wheel. You can do that by asking, what are the major segments of your life that are important to you right now? Usually clients need a little direction here. And then we've moved towards where are they feeling the most pain by asking the difficult question. And asking it not in a way that we think it's difficult, but asking it in a way that normalizes it. We all feel and experience pain, and that's okay. That's part of our human experience. So we move towards it with that love and compassion. And now we've moved towards priority. Okay, we've got, a couple of buckets of things. What's most important to you in this right now? Where could you see the highest gains in your life that if we improved this little bit, everything else would be a little bit better? All of that informs action. We want to move it to a very measurable space of what is the next responsible action that you can take? We ask the question first, listening as in partnership with them, and then asking for permission with if we have wisdom to share, or if we want to, if we have a challenge or a recommendation. It's okay, we're in partnership with them, but not from a place of authority. So we're saying, what's the most important responsible action that you could take right now? And when we get that within one session, we've uncovered enough of their life to come into hyper-focus, to come into where their most significant sources of pain are, to understand the context of where that pain has come from, make it okay, and then move them towards focus. Now, if you can do that with a client, just consider what their experience is like. Consider how they're going to feel after one session, if you're able to do that with a client. Not in our class, right? Not in our class. Okay, I'm gonna get my slides back up. This is just a review of what we went. Be with it. Know that pain is okay. We don't need to run from it. When you showcase that for your client, it goes so far. And when a client does share, acknowledge them. Thank you. The best source, 2 words of acknowledgement. Thank you. Client shares something really hard. Thank you. Thank you. You're showing them what it feels to be seen without judgment. We identify the priority, right? What's most important to you in all of this? If you could change one of these things, what would it be? Have them force rank their priority, even if it's difficult for them. And then have them be with it. And then finally, it all comes down to action, right? What's the next responsible action that they could take that would make their life that much better? Have them be with it. Get them in their body, imagining them taking that action into the future, and allowing them to feel how that is when it's complete. And when you do that with the client, if they're not excited, if they're not inspired, and this is they're being in high rapport with that client, see, are you inspired by that? If they're not, that tells you that you don't have the right action. right? You flow with that client's energy in partnership with them. If they're inspired by that action, because you've taken the time to ask the question and be explicit. Is this the action that stirs you? And if it does, then awesome. Acknowledge them and their commitment to take radical responsibility to not play victim. So, following those 4 steps, consistently, you can find hyper focus with your clients. Now, I built a tool based on my experiences as a new coach, which was actually only 6 years ago. When I left corporate, I I came into coaching kind of naturally because I wanted to help people. And when I first started, it was okay, how am I going to find focus with clients? And as I went to answer that question, I came to a framework that I'd used for years and years and years in my own personal planning process. That framework was something that had me look at my entire life and categorize the buckets of all the different roles that I was playing. And then in that framework, I would ask myself critical questions so I could really, really quickly identify my sources of suffering, my sources of celebration, so I could set clear goals and move forward. That was just like a personal project. When I started coaching and then using this, and I saw the actual results with clients about 2 years later, I'm like, okay, I got to build this thing. There's a few of you on here that are past students and have been through the certification. There's at least a couple of you on here that are future students going into our class on February 20th, where we're going to go in and I'm going to introduce you to basically the framework that I've built inside of a tool, an online tool that allows you to do this quickly, consistently with your clients in their work. And for today, what I'm doing for particularly for, and even if you're coming to class, by the way, so Dr. Renee, Coach Deb, even if you're already registered, you're welcome to come here, because the more reps you get and looking at the life map, the quicker study that you're going to be. Next Thursday, I'm going to be doing a deep dive demo on the life map. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm just going to show you a picture. The tool that I've created, the output creates an online interactive life map. And as a coach or a therapist that knows how to read the life map, you can look at somebody's life and within minutes understand their most significant sources of suffering. In this case, it's the client's emotional health and physical health, 2 pervasive categories, by the way. You can identify their patterns, and then you can follow their insights to create those actions. One of the other really, really cool things that happens is when you have a consistent tool, whether you use this assessment or not, what I'm promoting is measure your work. So when you're talking to a client about their life, ask them, right, what is their level of fulfillment on a scale of 1 to 10? Measure it every step of the way. What you're seeing here is an example of one of my clients who came to a retreat and an example of their life map before and after the retreat. On the left-hand side is their life map, and you can see the further to the left shows, right, categories, life categories that are out of fulfillment. There's more suffering there. And she had some easy for you to say, some significant ones, particularly around her love life. This particular person had kind of lost all hope, but she was still in a committed marriage, but she just kind of had given up on it. And by the end of the retreat, with some soul searching and some healing, she came to some clarity, and we were able to measure. Like when I showed her the picture of her life map after her 3 days, the to celebrate that with her, it was overwhelming. She's just like, whoa, I did all of that. Nothing in her life had actually changed except from the inside out. She had done some healing and some mindset reframing. When you're able to measure the effect and the impact of your client's work, things get pretty exciting. Another chart I'll show you, and this is all data that comes from the assessment. I'm a huge fan of measuring, right, the elements of our work, and then celebrating those successes, and then using that as a guide to where you're going to go next. So here's a before and after. It's actually of the same person, of their overall emotional energy across all 13 life categories. I like to, when I'm working with clients with this particular graph, and I show them, right, their average emotional energy across all life categories, I'll ask the difficult question. I'll say, okay, so you're a 5.92 in emotional energy. Before you looked at this, how would you have ranked yourself? Most people think they're like much higher. Like when you walk into a room, what's your energy like? And then I'll ask, how do you think it feels to be, in and around a person that's 5.92 versus an 8? What's that experience for both the person and the people around them? It can be a really kind of sobering conversation, always with radical compassion about how they're showing up in their lives, and then showing the points of their energy losses. There's nothing more than motivational sources when a person can really see the impact of their pain on the rest of their life. Here, I just want to highlight the 5 items. These are called the wellness health gauges. And when so I'm a huge component of assessments. That's why I built one. If you're not using assessment in your practice today, please consider moving towards assessments. And that's not to define a person, it's to help measure, guide, and celebrate. So the 5 questions that we ask are around emotional well-being, how a person's feeling in terms of their level of capability, their ability to fully engage in the life category, their time alignment, and their happiness level. That's what we measure in the life inventory assessment. And then what we also provide is actually self-directed coaching notes. Often a client will come in and they don't know how to express what they're feeling inside. And when we can create a bridge for their self-expression, we're giving them a gift, because otherwise that stays bottled up inside, and they can't see it. They can't see it, they can't say it, they can't move through it. And when we give them the gift of self-expression, then we can partner with them to create those actions to move beyond it. So if you don't have a current tool, or the current tool that you're using isn't, fully giving you the measures and the hyper focus with your clients that you would love, I would love for you to come join me next week. I'll be doing an actual live demo. Today was a little bit of teaching and showing you that, hey, tools can really elevate your practice. I'll be doing a live demo next Thursday. And I'm going to send that to everyone that's in there, so you don't have to take it down now. You will have a link directly after this webinar. And with that, I wanted to end early and open it up for discussion. If you have questions, if you want to share your own experiences about how you find hyper focus, if something was helpful here, I would love to have that shared. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and
Hi, Maurice. It's Michelle. Thank
hey,
you.
Michelle.
Hello. And just want to say, couldn't agree more with my advocacy of measurement. You know, we do it for profits, so why not do it in terms of our human growth, which I agree is equally important. The inside, I think you agree, actually impacts profoundly the outside. So, yeah, this inner focus is wonderful and very excited to use this tool. So,
Thank you.
want to
Thank you so
say,
much. Yeah,
yeah,
thank you so
yeah,
much.
absolutely.
Yeah, Mark, try again. No, yeah, we can't hear you. Well, as Mark's working out his audio, one of the co-creators, and then we'll go to Carrie next, of this tool was Dr. Douglas Tatarin, and he's an expert in the emotional system. So measuring the somatically measuring what a person's feeling was really important to us with this assessment, and something that we don't really see out there. So that's where that, like, I spend most of my time with clients on the emotional activation, because that's where the big stuff is. Carrie, and then Mark, if Mark's audio is working. Carrie, do you still have a question, or was that a mistake?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a mistake.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just again, thank you for this presentation today. I really loved how you combined slides with actual whiteboard and writing that out. That just felt really nice. Like I just wanted to make that comment. And then just this idea of measurement in this field is pretty interesting to me, because at least in my training, like through Gestalt therapy and the life coach training I went through, this like this it's new to me, this idea, this concept, but I really like it. And I guess my only question is, um, like, do you explain this tool to your clients as well? And so
Yeah.
they're like understanding like the context around it too?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. In the coach certification, that's exactly one of the major sections. So the first 15 minutes that I spend with a client, is to first and foremost is create safe space with some very, very specific actions associated with that. And then we set joint goals, and then spend about 5 or 10 minutes, depending on the client, because we always, like, some clients are engineer types, and they've looked at their results and they've figured it out. And the tool is intuitive enough that a client can do that if they put in the energy. Most of the clients aren't engineers, so they come and they're like, there's bubbles here. What do they mean? So I spend the first 5 or 10 minutes describing what I can see, right? I describe, what left to right means, what priority means, what the size of the bubbles mean. And I teach that on how to describe that in the certification. And then the client, right, they have the context they need to dig deeper.
Very
So
cool.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
The microphone worked the other day with you and I guess it didn't work today.
Yeah.
So anyway, I identified with, finding the pain point, because that's probably why they would sign up with us to begin with. So if they're with us, there must be something in particular they want to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. The well, I just want to make sure, were you complete, Mark, with that
Yes.
comment? Okay.
Sure.
Where I want to carry on with that is, yes, absolutely. And also, my experience, particularly in corporate, is sometimes someone will be coming into coaching, and it's because their organization has kind of pushed them towards it, pushed them. It's a really great thing, and I love organizations that do it, but they're not necessarily showing up at the doorstep with, please help me with.
Sure.
And when that happens, having a tool like this in the beginning it's a really beautiful way, or any tool, right? But it's a really beautiful way to create that bridge of how will we work together. And particularly for those clients where they might otherwise, like it might take months and months and months and sessions and sessions and sessions for them to realize that they can trust you and that they can talk about these things. And with
So
this, it's
my
like,
focus would be helping people get, excuse me, helping them get promotions and win on interviews.
right,
So they obviously know that they're frustrated. They may not know exactly what the problem is.
right. And for your particular use, and Mark, we've chatted, so I know that you take a whole person approach. So for your particular use case, having something that bridges the conversation where you might be able to link the other things that are happening in their life to their work performance and to how they're showing up in interviewing or how they're showing up at work. Having a tool to help you bridge that conversation, because I know that's the conversation that you're wanting to have, I would see as being most helpful.
Good point taken.
Maurice, his question was, in other assessments like Strengths Finders, you would take the assessment over and over and the results would be consistently about the same. Your top 5 remain the same.
Mhm.
With this one, even within a 3-day time frame, you saw a marked kind of change in the results. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I actually have a follow-up question tied to that, but
Right.
yeah, can you address?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the translation. And Dave, I'm so sorry I couldn't hear you, but I was watching, like Debbie was like, so what you said must have made sense or people are interested. So yeah, this is where it's like validity. In this one, validity is actually it's within the client's experience, right? It's David, if you're answering this question, your client's answering this, that's the valid experience, the self-expression of their experience. And that might change by what's going on in their life. So and sometimes perspective will even change when they're thinking about priority, or you'll have a conversation and they'll be like, oh, actually, this is way more important. So I've had it where their priority might even switch. And it's like that's perfect. What we're moving towards is having them understand themselves better. That self-reflection brings them to more and more clarity. And then you're just using that clarity to take that hyper focus and set goals that are most aligned with who they really are. Because sometimes they'll answer it and they'll have answered it for somebody else, or they'll have answered it because they didn't know this was a trusted place that they could be completely honest that work is at, like, so that's part of the beauty of the process is it can change and it doesn't matter. It's a sense making tool of their life. Dr. Renee, you have a question related?
Yeah, well, I want to make sure that I agree on the not that I agree. I understand the sense making component, and perception is everything, honestly, on how people approach their wellness.
Yeah.
The part that my brain is wrestling with is how to make sure that their behaviors, the behaviors that get them the results that they desire, stick, right?
Yeah.
That is not something like, okay, I went to a retreat and my perception was great for 3 days, and now I'm back home going through my regular stressors, and I fall back into some negative perceptions and some bad patterns. How do you get them centered back or dialed back in?
Yeah, that's
What
a
do you
great
find
question. And so I can speak to the things that this tool helps to create to help increase the chance of success of that. Uh, I wish I could say that, yeah, when they see this, then all of a sudden they do all the things that create the changes they want to make, but this is human behavior. The things that really help increase the success. Some of the aha and profound moments that I'll experience with clients is it's like this is an impact assessment. So often, and I call these blind spots, where I'll see blind spots in the bottom. So they've ranked them low on their priority because they're ignoring them. Because it might be that they're ignoring them, I'll say, and they're way to the left. And what that indicates to me is there's significant pain in a certain area of their life that they've just, and they're saying it's not important. So I want to just challenge and test it or validate that. Is it really not important? Because usually there's not significant pain in areas that aren't like important. But even if it's not important, can we move them to at least a place of peace? I lost track of the point I was trying to make, which is this: when someone sees the impact, right, the impact of their current decisions on their whole life, and when they can see it in front of them with a map, you say, okay, a common question we'll use is, okay, I can see that this isn't in a fulfilled state. If we were able to move it from here to there with some strategies, how would that impact all the rest of these categories or any of them? And when they start to kind of be, oh, well, if my physical health was in better, so I would have more actually energy to spend with my kids, which is number one. I would have more energy. Okay. So even though like this isn't like your most important, it does dramatically impact these other really important things. And when you make those connections, it can kind of help with that motivational force. So that's one. The other one that I love, and maybe this is why I was talking about the blind spots, is often our clients won't make the changes because they're hiding them from us. So it's like we got to find the things that are mattering first. And then when we can actually help them express the pain, which is sometimes half the battle. I'm stuck here and I don't know why. So I could do another like whole coaching, and we spend a lot of time on this in class, where it's like, how do we follow these clues to direct the coaching to where it will matter most? And when I say that, because we're measuring the emotional activation, a lot of the times that's where the next action goes. We're not just saying, hey, go spend more time on this because your time gauge is out of alignment. We're following the clues that the whole map shows. And if the map shows that, okay, your emotional activation shows that you're feeling really negative about this area of your life, and you spend some time getting them to express what that's actually about, then you can make the connection between, hey, when we feel not good about a certain category, or if whenever you move towards action in this category, it brings up feelings of inadequacy, and there's self-directed like notes there that will help you help them express this. So every time you move towards this and you feel like crap, kind of goes the reason that you're going to do all the other things that make you feel better before you do this. So it makes sense that you're not spending the time that would be best for you. Yeah, so they agree. And that's why as a coach, I'm not just going to go tell you to spend more time on it. So we call this root cause. When we can use the map to help them find the actual root cause, the chances of success, increase exceptionally, because you're working on the stuff that's actually in their way, rather than throwing tactics and ideas towards something that they haven't addressed yet.
So can I make a comment on Dr. Renee's question? It was a good question.
Yeah.
Having been a personal trainer and a health coach, we had 5 stages we wanted to move people through, the last one being self-monitoring. So the instance she had, I would call relapse. So everybody is feeling really good about where they are, and then the distraction or whatever they're having a problem with comes up and they're off course. And as a personal trainer or health coach, we'd want them to say, yeah, I went off course. And we say, okay, so how do we get back on course? And then we work them through until they get self-monitoring, which is what we would consider success.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for that, Mark. So there's the emphasis on measurement and accountability, which is also like that's built into the tool, but having having a source. So the principles of it are having a source, a clear source of measurement, and a clear source of accountability or commitment towards the action. Great question. Deb, Coach Deb.
Hi, Maurice. First of all, I just want to say that I've taken this assessment and it really is eye-opening. And I think that that's the point, right? It's like to figure out where those issues are that are the root causes. The way I like to think about this with my clients is it's connecting the thinking with the feeling, and then comes the action. So if we want clients to move towards actions that serve them, we have to figure out what's going on up here and in here so that then they can just like it's these little shifts, like they can sometimes you can make a big leap, but most normally I find it's just these little shifts in thinking and feeling that then feel better and feel better, and then you keep moving towards that. You know, 1 or 2 sessions probably isn't enough if there's a lot of change that the client wants, but that's why the consistency of coaching on a regular basis can really help move people with the thoughts like Mark was talking about, and the heart like Maurice is so good at, and then into the action where it all connects, you know, and it helps them focus and move forward on the things that matter to them. So I'm super excited to start. It's this month. When does it start? Later this month, right, Maurice?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, February 20th. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah, thanks for the comments. We have specific wording that we like. I actually talk about the head and the heart. So we'll go Debbie and then Randall, where the head question is happiness. That's your regular wellness question or wellness wheel question. How happy are you in this area of your life? And then the heart question is the somatic scale, the emotional activation. Hey, just check in with your body. When you check in with your body, as you think about your financial life, what's happening? Do you feel light and positive, or do you feel heavy and lifted? And we take both of those measures to determine their fulfillment. Debbie.
What I wanted to add also, I also took the assessment. And the thing I love about it is, you know, I do career, life, alignment coaching, business. And I always use the wheel of life, as I talked with Maurice about. What I love about this is the in-depth questioning of the emotional piece digs deeper. But as a follow-up to that, when people look at it, I feel that my role, in addition to doing the coaching, as everybody has talked about, is really helping them to design a practice that gives them a daily self-realization on that whole picture. So, you know, that's when we go into, and it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or an hour, whatever the person fits in, whatever fits into their life and their style. I encourage them to even seek out their own things. I don't want to tell them what to do because I want them to be comfortable with it. But I found that this tool would be so amazing because you constantly have the reference point, okay? Whether I'm coaching them or whether they are sitting, let's say, in a meditation for 5 minutes a day, they have a reference point to look at. And then based on that, I try to work with them to build a practice around alignment and living that so that they can manifest that goal or that vision. You know, I help them create a vision of, based on that, what do you think you want to see in your life? And then they have that to measure it. So that's where I think that we as individual coaches or therapists, whatever, I think that's the beauty that we bring to the table based on our training, our intuitive process that we utilize. And that, I believe, is what's going to be a game changer, at least for the work I do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
So I just wanted to add that.
I'm going to stay on as long as needs, but just we're at time. So if anyone needs to gracefully leave, I always like to leave like a graceful exit, so you don't feel like I'm leaving. So there's a little window of graceful exit if you need to. This is a great discussion. I'm going to stay on as long as we continue to have it. Um, yeah, Debbie. So for what you shared, the magic that happens after, I look at this like I so I use words like gate or bridge, because it's like when you can, especially in the beginning, when you can start with like a really kind of the whole picture and then move them to, okay, right, okay, well, like I'll use an example. Like I have a 4-session package that I'll do with a lot of people. After they've done this, I'll do a 4-session life planning package. And in that, it will be identifying values, and it will be identifying, getting really clear on vision, and then strengths and gifts. And that will all come with their life map to say, if you leverage your values, alignment, your strengths and gifts, how will you move that? Like, how will your life change in this next year? So thanks for that share. Luke.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Debbie was saying about one of the great things about the tool is the reference points. And in my experience in the corporate world doing performance measurement, you need multiple data points to understand your range of performance and to understand at various times whether the tactics and interventions you're taking are actually sticking or making some sort of meaningful impact. But what I wanted to raise too is, when having had the experience of doing the assessment multiple times, just highlighting the areas of your life that are important for you to move forward, even without necessarily coming up with tangible, explicit actions. Sometimes when you have that second reference point and you see how things have moved, that's a basis for some really meaningful discussion. And you say, okay, well, it seems like this was far to the left before, and now it's all the way to the right. And so it's a basis for retrospection, right? So you can look at it and say, okay, well, what have I done well or not, right? In the inverse, that has led to these results, and I think that could be a really powerful tool for some self-reflection and an identification of what's working and what isn't.
Yeah, thank you.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I work on personal development, and it's not a quick process.
No.
You don't develop somebody in 1 or 2 sessions.
Yeah.
So like you, I have an upsell because hopefully I turn the light on, and depending on where they start, depends on how long it takes.
Yeah.
So in going through my own process, after 5 or 6 months, one day I just said, wow, I'm happy. I had this feeling come up, wow, this stuff works.
Yeah.
So in my process, I include 3 quarterly follow-ups.
Yeah.
Just to touch base.
Yeah.
Without an upsell.
Yeah.
I just include it because I know it takes a long time. I'm waiting. I want them to have the aha moment.
Yeah.
And maybe in the first or the second quarterly follow-up, they're either following it and they've totally relapsed.
Yeah.
Or they have followed it and they say, I feel the progress, because it's a slow thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Debbie and Luke still have their hands up, but I think they're just waiting for me. Fine, I don't mind. Okay. Well, any other questions or comments at all?
Thank you. This was great. I've
Thanks.
taken it too. I'm learning. I loved hearing from others because that helps in the way I learn, my learning process. I've been distracted by my golden retriever who refuses to let me use my hand for nothing but rubbing her. But I've learned a lot. And I appreciate all of you for being so kind.
Awesome. We had a really nice
Yes, thank you.
mix today. A really nice mix of like students that have been through it, people that are going to be in it, and hopefully some people that are considering it. But either way, I really appreciate everyone's engagement today.
Thank you.
Have an amazing Friday.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.